Hi, I'm Stephen Ham from Archery Supplies in Australia. This is the new PSE Citation. It's a 40-inch axle bow. It comes in two models, one with the SE cam, which is this one, and one with the EM cam, which is smaller. This is the bigger of the two cams. This is the SE, and this is exactly the same cam that PSE used last year on the PSE Perform. So PSE tends to use the same cams on a whole number of bows. Makes life easy for them, makes life easy for you if you need to get parts in the future, because this is a common cam they use. So what makes the Citation different to other bows like the new Hoyt? This is a solid aluminium riser that is cut out of a piece of, which is machined out of a solid block. So this riser takes 4 times as long to make than a normal compound bow. The bridge design here is meant to make the bow more rigid, more solid, I'm going to say more accurate, but just stiffer riser to improve it's meant to improve the accuracy. So I want to look at what's different with this than bows in the past, and just look at other bows and see how it compares, and then we'll do another review. So first off, what's different with the Citation than the bows in the past? So we know the cams are the same, but one of the first things I noticed was this limb system here. You can see the limbs start off thin and they go thick and they thin down here. Now these limbs remind me very much of a Bowtech limb. Now I'm going to show you the difference between the older limbs on the PSEs and the new ones as we go through. But this limb design is very new for PSE. Now by making it thinner here, it creates flex at this point, so it creates more of an even distribution to the limb flex. The limb pockets have been changed, so it's machined here. These look nice, and they've got these little plugs on the side, these little plastic plugs to hold it all together. So this here bolts it all together, bolts the limbs together, so they clamp in there. Now in the end here, this is new too. You see the limbs go into a pin system here. This is new. The limbs lock in here, so they clamp together to stop this winding out. PSE have done away with the lateral limb system, so they used to have a limb system here which allowed these limbs to move left and right. I wasn't a fan, I said it straight up. Didn't like it when PSE came out with it. It made life to me too complex. I like life simple. So I'm a big fan of this system that they've done here. Now what they've also done is they've made the limbs wider. So you can see there's a lot of shims in here. So lots of little shims and thicker shims in these limbs here. Now why PSE have done this, to create more stability on the limbs, but also for tuning this bow, you can move the little spacers and only move a little spacer left to right to change the tune of the bow. You'll see the cams here are all bearings. They use big thick axles here. That stops the limbs sort of pushing down that you used to sort of see. PSE still have the multiple sight positions here to move the sight up or down, and I think it's new for PSE to have 2 arrow holes here. Now you'll see this here, this is the cable guard. It's changed, so I want to go through the changes in this. So it's a machine system here that bolts into the riser, an aluminium rod. Now this is different to what PSE have used in the past, and we'll talk about that later. You have 2 spots now for stabilizers, one low and one high. This is very much like you saw in the NXTs, but this is new for the target bows, high and low mounts. Now in the rear system, you've also got 2 positions, high and low. A string stop. Now some people take string stops off. What a string stop does, it takes the vibration away from the string. So the string hits this and then stops. Now some people find it more forgiving to shoot without one of these, so you can try it. The bow probably won't feel as nice to shoot, but you might find you shoot a little bit more accurate with it. The grip feels very much like a PSE grip. I'm going to say it feels a bit bigger than a Supra, a bit fatter than the Supra, but not much fatter than the Supra. and I'm going to say, without just grabbing the Perform, which we're going to grab, it feels a little bit narrower than the Perform. The machining looks really nice on this bow. It looks top notch. There's some machining marks here, but overall this looks nice. This is the platinum finish. I like the limb graphics on the Citation. I think they look really nice. Now on PSE, to change the draw length, you've got two screws here, A being the longest and the other letter being the smallest. Each letter is ½ an inch, so it's pretty simple to adjust. The draw length, so the draw let off, is adjusted by moving this forward. By moving this forward, you decrease the let off. Now this bow is coming with the low let off modules, which I'm going to guess are between 65 and 75% let off. So by moving this stop forward, you're changing back to 65%. Okay, so before I go on to talk more about this, I suppose I want to talk about why PSE have made these changes. And I haven't spoken to PSE about these changes, I'm just talking why I think PSE have made these changes. Now I'm also going to talk about what I'd like to see different on this bow. Some companies don't like that, and I think PSE don't mind, so, well, they might mind, not tell me. I would like PSE to produce coloured strings on their coloured bows. So if you're getting a gold bow, have gold strings. PSE is fitting these are PSE strings made by PSE, made by computer, and they're using the same colour strings, this grey, on all their bows. So it doesn't matter if you get the red one, the blue one, you're going to get grey strings on it. I'd prefer blue strings on a blue bow, gold strings, red bow, red strings. But that's just me. They've changed these little yokes up here. What happens with this yoke is, as you pull the bow back, this yoke moves down. It's meant to balance this limb here. So the cable guard was a big change for me from in the past. So we're going to see some of what PSE have used in the past. So PSE originally had a flexible cable guard, so as you drew it back it flexed in. They also had an angle one, so that as you drew back it, the cable guards moved in to reduce torque on the bows. Then PSE went for a solid carbon cable rod, and now they've gone to an aluminium. Now my view is of why PSE have gone to aluminium. There could be two reasons. Now with my bow, the PSE Supra that I've been shooting for over a year, and I'll go and grab it just here. Now this is my cable rod here. Now you can see I've got no real signs of wear here, and it's looking pretty good, and it's a year old, and I've been shooting all the time with it. Now what I did lose one grub screw here, and these are fairly prone to coming loose, so you can see one's big and one's little. I just got a spare grub screw and stuck it in there. Sometimes you can not notice that this has come loose, so all you do is unhook it like that, and if this is loose, this will wobble. Sometimes these grub screws dig into the carbon cable rod. I'm not sure if that's why. And my friend's Supra, his carbon rod has become showing signs of wear, but it is dirty kind of where he lives. So, or it could be he just shoots a lot more arrows than I do, but his cable rod is showing signs of wear. His rollers are okay, which is surprising. You think these would wear, but they look alright on his bow. So this rod has changed to aluminium as opposed to carbon. I assume you can still get it. Now you'll notice here, and the new one, it's actually wider. So I think here you can see it's much wider. So I think it's to give more support to this cable rod. Two Allen key screws for the arrow rest. That's so you can bolt it on twice. That's a good idea. What I would like, you can see here they've machined in where this limb pocket is. I would like this exposed so I can see how much thread is left in here. Lots of companies do it, so basically I'd prefer this machined out so I can see how much thread is left, so I'm not basically likely to unscrew this bow back more than it can be. Now I want to show this limb pocket system here compared to the Supra and compared to the Perform. Notice here how it's thin and notice how long it is. I'm going to show you this, but I'm going to show you the Supra first. So this is the Supra limb pocket system. So it's a machine pocket, plastic here, and it locks in place by this here. But the limbs here are thicker. And you can see this is much shorter than the new Citation. So this is my Perform. So same limb pocket system as the Supra, except with this Perform you can move these limbs left and right, and I wasn't a real fan of that because it's made people always wanted to play with it, and it made, for me as a shop owner, it made there's more things to change. So you not only could change this, you could change your cams. There was just more stuff to people to play with and get wrong. But as I said, the cams are the same, but you can see the limbs here are thick and the limb pockets are actually longer on the new Citation. The one arrow hole, you see this has got the flexible cable rod, so the carbon was actually machined out here to enable it to flex. No lower stabilizer hole here and just one here, so now it's got two. The riser I would think would consume about the same amount of time to make as the Perform as opposed to the Citation. Perform risers side by side, so you can see the kind of difference in them. So let's try and line them up. You can see, I'm hoping I'll try and get a better picture of it. You can see the riser on the new Citation is much more deflex than the Perform. So what that means is this is further away from the string and the limbs are back further. Now this should create more stability, so when you're aiming the bow you'll get less vibration on the pin, so the pin won't be moving around as much with the new Citation as the Perform. However, I'd suggest, without even knowing statistics, I'm going to suggest the Perform is going to be a little bit quicker than the Citation. So I'm going to be interested in these limbs, because while I say the Perform should be faster, PSE have actually changed this whole limb pocket design with these limbs, so these limbs may be more efficient. Now also check out the limb angle on the Citation versus the Perform. You'll see the Perform is almost 90 degrees where the Citation is clearly pointing forward, so quite a different limb angle. So if you're new to archery, where does the Citation get its name from? The Citation was one of PSE's big target bows back in 1976. Back in 1976, PSE arguably had the best archer in the world shooting for them, a guy by the name of Terry Ragsdale. And he used to shoot this bow. Well, probably not this bow, but a bow like this. And this was the Citation. It didn't come with a cable guard. It used 4 wheels to pull the cables out the way of the riser, so you didn't need a cable guard. You can see the cables are off here and the strings on this side of the cables. That's because they use these rods here to pull their cables away from the this string here. The bow was much longer. It was about 48 inches. The new Citation is 40 inches. Now they're going to come out with a 36 and I think a 34 on the Citation. That will come out in around April next year. Now this was a cast riser and it was like a powder, what do they call this, a hammer tone finish. They used to come out in blue, grey and red. Maybe a green, don't know, but definitely blue, grey and definitely blue, red and grey, because I've seen those colours. Now the way you tune this bow was by moving this up and down, and there was an adjustment just here. Now look at the size, how big the cams were back in 1976 compared to the huge cams now. one one hole to bolt the RRS to the bow, and one spot for your sight to mount onto. But I think bows have come a long way. PSE Citation, 34 years 34 years on, or 35 years on. I think it's chalk and cheese about how these bows shoot. With these new limbs, these are fiberglass solid limbs, where the old Citation was a laminate wood limb, which kind of what you use for a recurve. These are solid fiberglass and they bend them down. These days, these bows are tested for like 25 years of shooting in shooting machines. So they sit there and they shoot these things continuously, 24 hours a day. They test them with 200-pound limbs to make sure this riser is not going to bend. They literally, the testing is just off the books these days to make sure these bows are perfect. Now, each one of these limbs, I'm going to say, is a different poundage. Now, what's interesting, now PSE has changed their limbs, so I'm just going to show you. These limbs have got 97221, 97221, 97221 engraved in them just up here. Now, with PSE, often these limbs are all different weights, and that's to stop the torquing of the bow. So some companies use thicker limbs, some use wider limbs, some just offset the cam to stop the torquing. PSE use different poundage limbs, and they're only different by like less than half a pound. But this one on this side is a 175, and it's really, really hard to see. This one on this side is a 179. Down the bottom on the left, I've got 172, and I've got a 173 on the bottom right. I'm pretty sure the top right is 179. So they have three different limbs, four different limbs basically. And what's important is the order of these limbs to stop the torquing of the bows, torquing of the cams, to make the bow shoot straight. But I think the bow looks nice. Now, my questions on the PSE Citation is, are you going to buy one of these bows? So it's going to be aimed at the top end of the market. So let's just compare the top end of the market bows by other manufacturers. We've got the new Hoyt. Look, what do you think of that? I think Hoyt, I don't know, it just hasn't excited me this year. They've gone away from their shoot-through riser, and to me it kind of looks like a... I'm just going to get hate messages for that, so I'm just not impressed with the new Hoyt. I think the new Elite Result is kind of cool with the limb stops and cable stops, and you can tilt the limbs left to right. Now at the same sort of price as a Citation. Matthews have got the TRX, uses modules to change the draw length and to change the let off. So it's not as flexible, not a shoot-through riser, about the same price as the Citation. And I've forgotten one bow, haven't I? Bowtech have got the Reckoning 38, which is a 38-inch bow. They've got the ability to move the limbs left or right, move the cams left to right for tuning. That's pretty cool. Very similar limb design on the Bowtech to the PSE in my view. It looks very similar. Now I've just done a review on the Bowtech Reckoning. I really liked the bow. I was worried about the paint finish. I think the paint finish will cause me a lot of heartache with customers, and customers won't be happy with the paint finish. They'll see a little mark on the paint and say, I've just spent $2,500 on a bow and it's got a mark on it. With the anodized finish on the PSE, it's going to look pretty good for years to come. Right, so this is the PSE Supra. It comes in two models. This is the XL, so this is the 40-inch one. It comes in two models like the Citation with two cams, the same as the Citation. Citation's going to be just ballpark numbers, 2,300, and I haven't even priced it yet, so The Supra is going to be about $1,400, so it's, you know, $800 different. So you're going to say, well, that math doesn't make sense, but this bow should be more expensive, okay? And there's a bit of a price war going on right now, so the shops aren't making much money with this. In Australia, in America, obviously these two bows will be a lot closer in price, but there'll be still a significant difference in the Supra to the Citation. Now, obviously you've got the limb pocket difference, but the big difference here, you got the limb difference also. The cams are the same. This riser comes out of a single block of metal and it takes 4 times as long to make as this bow. Speeds are all going to be much and muchness. So really what you're paying for is this design versus this. And you're going to be talking $800 ballpark number difference between the both bows. Now that's up to you to make that choice. And I haven't made that choice yet. So I am liking these limbs. I'm really interested to have a look at it. But this, the PSE Supra, in my opinion, has been the most successful target bow in history. Literally, the number of people choosing the Supra is just amazing. I mean, at the recent state championships, I think almost everyone was shooting a Supra. That's in my state. Yes, there was 2 Hoyts there, but the majority of shooters were shooting a Supra. And I think part of that is the cost, because it's so much cheaper than the $2,000 bows from the other companies, and people are having success with the Supra. You know, they are shooting world records with the Supra. But I think for this serious archer, they're going to have a look at the Citation because of these limb pockets, these limbs, and this riser. So I think a serious archer who's interested in shooting world competitions is going to look at the Citation and go, well, look, it's got some added features. So the things I really like about this, I like the limb locking system, I like the limbs, I like this limb system here, and I like the fact that this riser should be more stable to shoot than the Supra. So for me, when I go $800 difference, I think, well, if I'm going to go to a national title, I'm going to spend easily that to get to the national title and to shoot the title, not to mention the time to shoot the title, which is costing me in wages and all that sort of stuff. So for me, the difference in price between the two bows is not significant, but it would be if you're not a serious archer. And that's going to get me back to the question of which cam do I like? Do I like the SE cam or the EM cam? Now I've shot both. You'll notice my PSE Perform is the SE cam and my PSE Supra is the EM cam. The EM cam is slightly faster than the SE. It's also going to depend on your draw length. If your draw length is 31 inches, you have to go for this cam because the EM cam won't go out big enough. So, but if you're a normal guy like myself, you can choose this cam or the EM cam. Now I'm going to say this cam's probably a little bit smoother to draw. I'm going to say you're probably not going to notice no difference in scores. So this cam is a little bit easy to draw, but it's going to be a little bit slower. The EM just builds up a little bit more at the start, I think. So we're going to be interested in that. So with that, I'm going to pull up the expression. So this is the PSE bow before the Perform. Now the expression featured a 1.5 cam system. This is similar to what what Hoyt used now. So the top cam and the bottom cam are different. The Perform was when PSE changed to twin cam, which is what they're using now. So this is the bow. I still use it today. And what's kind of interesting is these limb pockets. You'll notice the limb pockets are almost identical in the length. So, but I think now with the expression, they thinned out the limbs here as well. But you'll see the limb pockets are actually different, but they're actually long, where PSE with the Perform went to a shorter limb pocket. So this is the expression. This had the limb system, so you can move left to right. but basically cam and a half versus the twin cam, and this was the riser that PSE had. Now this wasn't, like, I still use this today, this bow. I just won the state clout championships with this like a few weeks ago. It's a nice bow to shoot, not as crisp as the new bows. I'm going to say I get more vibration with it. It feels a bit like a rubber band, and even though it's still pretty fast, it just feels not as crisp. The new ones feel more precise. They perform, and I'm going to guess the Citation feels more precise than the Expression. So while I've still had this bow and I've been using it for years and years, and these are the original strings on the Expression that it came with, and I shot these I shot this all the time. You can see the cable guard that PSE used back then. This was a piece of plastic which used to flex in. I fitted a Saunders roller slide to it, and it's been perfectly good all these years. That's about 4 years old now, this bow. Now you can see with the Citation, you can see the rise is a bit longer, and you can see the hand grips further forward than the Perform. You can see the difference in the limb angle here. You can see the limbs are further back on the Citation. We put the Citation over the Focus. You can see the limb pockets are longer on the Citation. The limb angle, the limbs are longer on the Citation than the Supra. So the limbs are longer, the riser's about the same length, but the riser looks further forward. Now I think I've kind of changed that. You can see the grip position looks identical on the Citation versus the Focus. Limb angles look very, very similar. The Expression, the limbs look about the same in length. See, the limb angle on the Citation is not as 90 degrees. Hand grip looks in almost the same sort of... No, that's because I couldn't get this lined up. So the hand grip is further forward with the Citation than the Expression. But you can see the limbs are... The limb and riser positions are almost the same as far as length. Okay, so the PSE Citation, my summary, and the reason I went through all those bows, to me this bow, it feels like a combination of all the past PSE bows thrown into this bow. So they've taken, they said, look, the Supra is hugely successful. Let's take the bits that are good out of the Supra, let's take the bits that are good out of the other bows, and let's throw it into this bow to make the ultimate target bow. And that's what I feel this bow, what PSE has done with this bow. But what they've also done is made these limbs wider than the others. So bear in mind, if you can get those limb clamp things to stand your bow upon, it needs to be wide to make it fit. Pine Ridge has got one where you can adjust the width. But and this is new, so it's like they've almost gone back to the solid rod which they had in the past. So with that, we'll do a video on the Citation to compare it. I just want to make note of the US election. Was that crazy or what? Like, I go to bed, Donald Trump's 700,000 votes up in Pennsylvania. I'm like, well, it's over, the election's over, he's won. Like, it's over. Like, I've done maths and stats at uni. Like, literally you only need a small sample size, and and I'm like, it's 90% counted, and he's 700,000 up, and then he loses. I'm like, how does that happen? Anyway, crazy election. That's the PSE Citation. Check it out at your local shops. They should start to come into shops around about now. And when I say around about now, this wasn't even one of the bows I ordered from my store, and I ordered them before they were even released. I'm not going to say which store it came from. I mean, PSE did ship it to me, but they actually took it out of another store's shipment, because I know I ordered before everyone else, so I can get this to do the review. So they should be starting to ship these bows anytime soon. Like I said, the 36 and the 34 are not scheduled till April next year. I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. PSE Citation, I think it's worth a look. PSE offer great service, the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. I'm just going to say here, just see there's a slight blemish in the anodize. I don't know if it's the anodizing or the machining, just there. I don't know if you can see it. But their service is great. I mean, they're all my old bows. I haven't had a problem. I shoot every day. I've dry fired that Expression probably 3 times. Still good, touch wood. Just my silly mistakes, like the knock was cracked because through Robin Hooding, and I shoot when it's pitch black, so I didn't notice the knock was split, so I shot, the arrow just drops to the ground. But they're pretty good, and like if you have a problem, PSE look after you, and I just value that so highly. My customer service reps at PSE are just the best in the industry. I've been working with them forever, well, since I was 25 I think, and I'm 50 now, so 25 years it feels like. They just do a great job, and I think PSE have done a great job in designing this bow. The only parts I would like to see is this machined out, and you could argue that point that it adds more strength in here, but I would like to see how much space is, how much thread there. Now the interesting bit, I talk a lot, right? The PSE Supra, you can actually see this, but they PSE stick a sticker over it, so because they think it looks better to have the sticker over this, so you can't see how much thread is. I like seeing the thread. On the Bowtex you can see the thread, because I don't want to wind back the bow and let it go pop. It's not a good look. And how often does that happen? Most people shoot their bow on maximum poundage, but it does happen. I probably have 5 bows a year where they overwind the bow and the bow goes pop. I guess 5 for all the bows I sell a year. But yeah, I'd like to see that. It just gives you a bit of security to know how far you can turn this out. Now this bow you can wind down 14 turns from maximum, so you've got to make sure the bow's on maximum poundage, and then you can turn it down 14 turns. It's no use turning it down 14 turns if it's already wound down 5, which one of my customers did. So make sure the bow's fully wound up, then you can wind it down 14 turns. Alright, I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. Enjoy your archery and have fun. Thanks for watching. Bye.